Hello everybody. Today I want to make just a quick video about Max Pacioretty being traded to Vegas. A long overdue video because he got traded about that was a bit more than a month ago, I think, right before training camp started. But yeah, it's a long overdue. I had waited long enough, so I'm gonna make it now. So before we dive into Pacioretty and all the stuff, let's talk about his Canadiens career. Okay, so Pacioretty, he was drafted in 2007. I think he was 22nd overall. And basically that draft, the Canes drafted both McDonough and Pacioretty in the first round. Pacioretty was his draft pick was a trade from San Jose. I think we had traded Craig Rivet, if you guys remember Craig Rivet, to San Jose for first round pick, which is Pacioretty. So Pacioretty gets drafted by the Canadiens. I think he went to NCAA university hockey before making it to the AHL with the Canadiens. It was the Bulldogs at the time. Yeah. Excuse me. So yeah, even before he broke into the league, he kind of made a bit of controversy because was it? No, sorry, it was after he broke in. So he broke into the league, I think. His first season was the 2011-2012 season. I believe right before Bergevin got hired as a Canadiens GM. It was the year they didn't make the playoffs. But I remember, at the time, I forgot what the story was, but I think he had played poorly or something in a game, and then they had asked him then he got dropped to the fourth line or something. So he had said to the reporters, "Yeah, if you put me in the fourth line, send me back to the AHL," which kind of quite a bit of a stir because players usually don't say things like that. But he was right because he is like a top six forward. As he breaks into the league, right, he starts doing very well. He did pretty well. Like every year, he would keep steady about 60-65 points or so. He was a 30 goal scorer. He was a 30 goal scorer 4 seasons in a row, I think. Except for the last season he was with the Canadiens. Then that was a bad year for everybody. So obviously he didn't do a lot of scoring. So basically he was a top scorer. Well, he was about a 30 goal scorer for the Canadiens. He got consistent points. A lot of people liked him. He would score key goals. He had pretty good hands, so he could aim for those wristers, and he could score on the power play, and so he did all that stuff. And eventually, after Brian Gionta he didn't get traded. They just didn't renew his contract. He became the 34th captain in the Canes history. He wasn't long for 2 years, but captain nonetheless. Most people, I think people either like Patrick or they didn't like him. I mean, there's some in between with him, but from what I can tell, what I think, I liked him, but I think most people didn't listen. Well, I shouldn't say that. I'm not really. I was thinking of his production, but it didn't really dip that much. He was pretty consistent. He didn't like some players who get hot for half the season, then they dry up. But him, he was pretty much always consistent. But basically, I think a lot of contention came from his playoff game, because his playoff numbers, if you look, aren't as good as his regular season numbers. He was there, he did work in the playoffs, but his production wasn't the same. So, and of course, Montreal is a hockey city where the fans expect him to go far in the playoffs. And how do you get far in the playoffs? Well, you have to score, right? Just like in the other game. But the playoffs it's especially important to score, because a one goal game, 1 goal difference is key to winning. So his production really wasn't as good as his regular season performance. Actually, what I'll do is I'll go to Wikipedia. I always go to Wikipedia when you look up hockey player statistics. So let's see. Wow. Oh, great. Firefox has to install. Okay, so while Firefox installs, actually no, forget that. Go to Internet Explorer. Oh wait, is Firefox opening? I'll go to Internet Explorer in the meantime. Oh, actually, Firefox did open in the end. Look at that. Okay, so let's go to Wikipedia. Close Internet Explorer. Let's wait for it to load. Okay, so we have it loaded right now. We'll type in his name. Okay, so yeah, his playoffs, they weren't, so basically he had he had 5 goals, 6 assists for 11 points. 2014 season, 2015 season, he had 7 points in 11 games. 2016 he was injured during the playoffs. I remember 2017 he had like 1 point in 6 games. So yeah, his I think a lot of people would have liked to see his playoff performance be a lot better than it was, considering he was top 6 forward during the year. And if you look at his during the year numbers, yeah, pretty consistent. He had 39 points. Yeah, he had 65 points the first year he came with the Canadians. This first full year. The season before he had pretty good too. 24 points. So he had 65 points in 79 games. 2012, 2013 he had 39 points in 44 games played. 2014 season, 60 points, 39 goals. Yeah, that was man. I remember that was we were so close to getting another 40 goal scorer, but it was like 5 games he had a chance and he never did it. Oh, I was so upset. And the year after too, 2015 he had 37 goals, 67 points. Yeah. So basically, except for the last year, which is last season, which they were really bad last season anyway, he still had a pretty good production number. Yeah, why did they trade him for? I guess is the big question. A lot of people, it's been rumored for like 2 years now that he was going to be traded, or like at least a year. After pretty much for a year after Subban got traded, and then everybody started not trusting Bergevin anymore. So yeah. But basically, so they've been trying to, and there was a big rumor that during the draft in June, he had been part of like a 7-player deal or something, but he didn't want to go to I think it was LA, but LA didn't like the deal in the end, so he said no, or they said no. I don't remember the story. I didn't really read the story. Yeah, but so basically he got traded then. It was really weird because he got traded like at 3 in the morning or something. It didn't make any sense. And then the day after, they were asking, "Oh, Bergevin, why are you trading me at 3 in the morning?" Vegas, first of all, is sorry. Look at my notification. It's like a 3-hour difference or something like that. So yeah. Anyway, so he got traded, and a lot of people understand me because he's a guy who was a 67 plus. And considering Kings have nobody now, it seems really weird that they traded him. But they got a good return from him. They got young David Suzuki, who could be a very good prospect for us, especially if he develops. I don't know if he's a center, but if he develops in the center, that's another center we can use, right? And so basically, my theory, I don't know if it's really a theory. Yeah, that's my theory. So my theory is to why I traded him is that because the Canes really weren't so good, right? And so because they weren't so good, they couldn't really make use of his services, right? So because we have no depth, basically. We have no top center. We have no second line center. We don't really have a top D pairing yet. We have elements of that, but basically the point is that the Canadians don't really have deep structure on forwards, and they're not at a point right now where Pacioretty will be useful, because for Pacioretty to be useful, as now the league now, the NHL now is all about centers. So you need a top center now, right? So for me, the Canes got lucky. They didn't really need top centers. They got away with it, but now they can't get away with it because every other team caught up, and the Canadians, didn't. So now that they're behind now, they have to do a rebuild. It's not really like a full rebuild, but it's they still have to rebuild. If they had re-signed Pacioretty again, he'd probably have low production this year too, because he has no center and he's got no really other wingers. And without a good center, it's really hard to score goals now. You need that. You need that playmaker center who plays defensive and who plays offensive too at the same time. Canes have always wanted a defensive center who plays both offense and defense. And they're potentially going to get that in Kotkaniemi. As I'm recording this, he made the team out of training camp, so we'll see if he goes beyond the 9 games. Actually, they already played a game against Toronto the other day. Excuse me. Yeah. So they can't really make use of his services. So, and obviously that's sent to a long-term deal for like $6.5 million a year, which is it really worth spending that much for a player whose service you can't get out of? And we can't. Not only can we get service out of him, it's not going to be good for his morale either, because if hockey players don't score, they start to get into a slump, and it's no point keeping a guy of high value when the rest of your team isn't really going to be able to support it, right? Like if we were in like a Winnipeg situation where they have top forwards, they have Scheifele and Laine and who else? They got Buffalo and defenseman Trouba. I I forgot. They got depth up the first two lines. And Wheeler, they just re-signed Wheeler because they can re-sign Wheeler, and they already have basically a structure. But Canes don't really have a structure right now. So for them to re-sign him, he's not gonna. His production is not going to be what the level is for the salary that they're going to pay him. So I mean, I'd rather trade him than lose him to free agency, right? If you know you're not going to be getting used, you're not going to be getting used for a player, you may as well just trade him and try to get either draft picks or other players, good prospects, and because that's how every team is going to build their future. Team now it's going to be all through the draft. It's really hard in the salary cap era, especially the way it's structured now, to get really good players out of free agency, because the good players you're gonna have to pay them like $6.5 million a year for a long-term deal, because that's just how it is now, because everybody has a salary cap now. So the players know they're gonna try to get as much money as they can in case in 4 years from now they won't be able to play anymore. Who knows, right? So Kane's had, and plus he's like 29, I think. Let's see. Yeah, he's 29. So yeah, they would have to really justify keeping Pacioretty when they don't have a center. They don't really have. They have some wingers. They got pretty good. They got like Gallagher and stuff. But we just got Domi, but it remains to be seen if Domi is gonna, players like that, and even our prospects. See, one burping last team are going to be any good. So honestly, I think it's better we to just traded him because apparently he just signed like a 4-year deal in Vegas anyway. Yeah, so I mean, we'll rebuild, and I think what's gonna happen is so they rebuild, and if in 4 years from now, if the Kings want to offer him a contract in Pacioretty when he's like 34, if he's still a decent, which I'm sure it will be on top of the list during free agency, because obviously he knows Montreal and stuff. He's lived here for 5 or 6 years now. So yeah, we'll see. But I mean, I'd like to keep Pacioretty, but to me, it's no point keeping him if you don't have the center to support him. You don't have the wingers. You don't really have the structure that you need to. Because Pacioretty is like a pure goal scorer, right? I mean, yeah, sure, he's a playmaker, but he's more about scoring goals. And for a guy to score goals, we need somebody to pass the puck to him. So yeah. So I think that's it. I'm really sad to see him go, because for many years he was part of the renaissance of the Canadiens. After Max went to the third round of the playoffs in 2010, he was sort of like the guy that everybody looked to. Well, not because he was always consistent. He did whatever he did his best to help the team win and stuff, and be nice to the fans and all that kind of stuff. Actually, as another anecdote. That's a funny. I don't know if it's it's not really a coincidence, but basically like 3 years ago, I sent him like 2 cards to get signed. You can send cards to players sometimes if you send it to the team's address. So I sent it in 2014, and I got them back like last fall, I think. So what I'm thinking is that I think he knew it was his last season in Montreal, so he was signing all of his mail and sending it all out. So that's what I think, because I had sent a self-addressed stamped envelope, right? So yeah, so I think he would so I think he kind of knew he wasn't gonna be there long, because they didn't offer him a contract either, apparently. I mean, I would like to see him stay, but it's better to rebuild sometimes than to keep, even if they're good. Like I guess an example is like, I don't know how good this example is gonna be, but basically like if you have like a GeForce GTX 1080 Ti or something, right, which is like a $350 graphics card, but if you only pair it with a Intel Core i3, which is like a laptop sort of processor, I mean, it's not really an entry-level PC processor. For those who don't know, like, I'm talking about like computer hardware right now, but basically like Pacioretty is like the 1080 Ti graphics card, or like a 1070. And the Canadiens right now are like an i3. They just don't have enough processing power to support a 1080 Ti. Sure, you can buy a 1080 Ti with an i3 processor, but you're not gonna get the full value out of it unless you buy like an Intel Core i5 or a Core i7 or a Core i9. Most likely and like a high i5 or like a mid high i7. So that's just like, I mean, they can get value out of Pacioretty if they re-sign him, but they won't get the. I don't think they'll get the full value out of him because we're missing a lot of other pieces to the team puzzle. So yeah, so that wraps it up for me for Pacioretty. So I'd like to say thanks Max for all your years watching. I mean, your years as a Montreal Canadian, and I'm sad to see you go, but I had a lot of fun watching you score all those goals and and do all those great highlight reel goals and all that kind of stuff, and score a lot and have fun doing it, and maybe who knows, maybe one day he'll be back and you'll be back in Montreal. So if you're watching this, anyways, so those are my sorry. So those are my thoughts on Pacioretty, and so thanks Pacioretty for all those years, and thanks for watching everybody, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks and good night. Bye bye.